What's going on, folks? I'm Femi the Agent.
And I'm Femi the Realtor.
Here on another episode of Sneakers and Real Estate, two of my favorite things that I love to talk about. We're not going to spend too much time today on sneakers because, you know, we have the esteemed guest here today, so we don't want to waste too much time with that. You guys don't need to change the channel because, you know, I normally have Nikes on, but I do have a couple of pairs of Adidas, and the man that we're about to interview is an Adidas freak, so, you know, I had to come in and pay homage. The Adidas we're going to talk about today are the NMDs, the R1 Reflectives. This to me is a really, really dope shoe. These sneakers dropped in 2016. Really dope shoe, like I said, really, really comfortable. Anybody that's been keeping up with me knows that I was talking about NMDs before when I actually wore a pair to a Tony Robbins event. And if anybody's been to a Tony Robbins event, you know that you're standing for like 12 to 13 hours at a time. Tony Robbins is normally jumping and doing all sorts of things, and I had these on all day, no issues whatsoever. The most comfortable sneakers in the world with the Boost technology. Anybody, like I said, if you're looking for something real comfortable to wear, you know, we love the Jordans, but, you know, sometimes you got to wear them like 3 or 4 hours at a time, then take them off to let your, let the corns and the bunions breathe. But these, you know, the Adidas, the NMDs, you can definitely wear these all day. Like I said, with the Boost technology, it makes it super, super comfortable. And anybody that's, you know, if you're working out or jogging and you're doing stuff at night, because it does have the reflective stripes, this is a really dope shoe. You know, people will definitely see this, you know, if you're running around, like I said, in the dark. And like I said, because I love the NMD so much, you see that I have the Firecracker ones. So I do have a couple of pairs. And I also have the Japanese ones as well. But anybody that's looking for NMDs, definitely you need to pick yourself up a pair. And enough about that. We're going to talk about some real estate real quick. Let my son tell you about the interest rates.
Yeah, so right now the market's shifting a little bit. For a 30-year mortgage, it's about like 7.6 right now, 7.7. For a 15-year, it's about like 6.6, and then for a 15-year ARM, it's at almost 8% right now. So, you know, the market's slowing down a little bit. You know, whatever your situation is, if you need to buy still, you still have to buy regardless of the market. But, you know, you got time to kind of think things through. Now it's not like the summer market where everybody, you know, has free time. You know, the kids are in school now and stuff like that. So you have time to actually put in, you know, a good quality offer and look things over. So, you know, it's always still a good time to buy. You know, a good deal is always going to be a good deal, regardless of the market. So, you know, just take your time now and just think things over. You know.
Yeah, definitely a great time to buy, like my son said. As everybody knows, interest rates being 7%, but rent is 100%. So, you know, there's nothing that you're getting back, you know, from renting a place, but the tax benefits that you get from actually owning a home. And also at the end of the day, if you need a place to live, folks, real estate is never going to change. You know, you do have the markets, the spurts, where it does go up and down. But at the end of the day, if you need a place to live, you plan on being there. You know, on average, the first-time home buyers normally stay in the house for like 5 to 7 years. So, you know, you have a couple of years to figure it out, and you can always refinance after that once the rates go down. Anybody that knows, that's been keeping up with me, knows that when I bought my first property in 2002, the rates were 6%, but due to the fact that I didn't fit the mold of a typical buyer, they gave me 8.75. I didn't cry or complain about it. I dealt with it for 6 months, and then I refinanced 6 months later into 5.75. So just like my son said, if you ask me when is a great time to buy, I'm always going to tell you now is a great time to buy, especially if you don't own a home.
But still incentives to buy. You know, a couple of banks are doing like the buy down programs for like the mortgages. So you know, they'll offer you certain rates for like the first 3 years, and then you can see where the market's heading or where it's going. If you have a better rate than the market, you know, you keep your rate. If not, then you can always refinance it. So you know, it's still not a bad time to buy, like you were saying. So.
Yeah, so definitely jump in, folks. Today we are honored and very excited to talk with the man, the myth, the legend. His background is of Haitian descent, which is why he wears a bunch of hats. Anybody that's watched In Living Color, I'm showing my age again, knows, you know, when you're talking about anybody from Caribbean descent. I'm Nigerian. You know, this man that we're about to talk to is an investor, a contractor, He owns a bunch of properties. His real estate portfolio is through the roof. Is nuts. He does really everything. And before doing all these things, he was also working at Verizon. So we'll let we'll talk to him and we can dive into his story. But today we're going to be talking with Jude Bernard. And, we want to thank you again for having us here at the Brooklyn Bank.
All love. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate your time.
It's funny because as you were talking, the first thing that I thought about, and then you jumped on it, the interest rate that people are hearing about, that is like for the perfect investor, the perfect buyer at the moment. So when you're hearing that interest rates are now at 7 or whatever they are, in reality, most people, that person with that 660 credit score, with some blemishes, with a high DTI, they're actually paying probably 9% right now.
9 to 10%.
Exactly. So that's super real. And secondly, it's ironic that this is what you guys started with, because I just posted a few minutes ago where I showed my HELOC balance, my HELOC, and I went back from December of 2019.
Oh wow! Okay.
Right, I went back from December of 2019. My HELOC was I have like $800,000 HELOC on something. $800,000 balance on a HELOC, and I was paying in December 2019. I was paying a monthly payment of over $8,000, right, on this property. Fast forward to 2020, when the Fed got really aggressive about bringing that rate down, right? My rates went from like from that $8,300 to like $6,000.
Oh, wow.
$5,800, $6,000, nice. $6,100 was dancing around that.
Right.
So from like 2020 to like this month, right, I was caking off, because up until April, my payment in April was like $5,800. Nice. My payment in October was $7,300, and my payment in November is going to be $7,600, and that's the reality. But check it out: everybody wants to cry. Everybody wants to cry about, oh my God, it's so high, this, that, the other. But when I did the underwriting on that particular deal, right, it worked at $8,000.
And it made sense for you.
It made sense, and it worked at $8,000. So for the last 2.5 years, that extra $1,500 to $1,700 I've been getting is gravy. So what did I do? Did I buy sneakers with all of it? No, I ain't buy sneakers with all of it. I put that money, I put it in stock market. I invest. I paid down some debt. I invested in other assets, right? So now that the money is, now that my payment is back up to damn near $8,000, what am I doing now? I'm raising the rents. I'm raising
make
the
up
rents
for the difference now.
To make up for the difference. But here's a part on the low that nobody even gets, right? So I raised my rents so that my cash flow remains to what it was 6 months ago. But check it out, my interest payment is a lot higher. So now that my interest deduction is going to be much lower, much higher as well.
Right.
So essentially, I have a bigger deduction. I have the same cash flow month to month. Right. So now I'm paying less taxes.
Nice.
So on a low, on some real funny stuff, like I'm actually making more money now
than
I was before, because I'm keeping more.
Right.
So it's super important in this real estate game that you gotta look, you gotta have a 360 peripheral. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta see how how it's gonna affect you on your taxes, how it's gonna affect your equity, how it's gonna affect your cash flow, how it's gonna affect your appreciation. Right. You know what I'm saying? How it's gonna affect everything else. How is the deal gonna affect your time? Right. So it's super important that everybody always has a 360 look, and not just say, oh my God, what do you call it? I'm only making $1,000 before, and now I'm making $1,000 now where I was making $1,500 before. You know what I'm saying?
It's all relative, like you said. At the end of the day, I think for anybody that's been in the market or been in the game for as long as you have, but even anybody I think that's coming in still brand new, you play the long game, because whenever you own a property, it's something that you're buying. Whenever I'm talking to a lot of first-time home buyers, it's something that you're going to own. Maybe for some they don't plan on moving, so maybe they plan on being there 30 years. But then on average, as a lot of us know, usually when you buy a property, you're in there for like 5 to 7 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're sitting there, you're worrying about things at the beginning that you don't need to worry about. It's like financially, if you're in a position to be able to afford that payment, do what you have to do, get yourself comfortable with making that payment, and then you'll watch where the market goes in the next year or two, and then you'll do what needs to be done if that's what it calls for.
Exactly. It's so funny because everybody's taught and bred 30-year fix. You need a 30-year fix no matter what, right? And the truth is, we tell people to get a 30-year fix, but everybody refinances at some point.
Right.
Most people move in 5 to 7 years.
Right. Situations change, motivations change.
Exactly. So, like, don't be married to like one particular product.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And another thing, there's no definite, right? So, like, a 30-year fix may not be the best situation for you at that moment. Right. So just like anything else, I get people in my DMs asking me, hey Jude, I have this situation, what should I do? And I was like, it depends.
Everybody's situation is different. I can't just give you a general answer for...
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the right answer? It's like, what's right for you at this moment? And what's right for you at this moment might not be right for you tomorrow.
That's true.
And what's right tomorrow might not be right for you.
That's true.
So
yeah, like you said, people's motivations, and I think everything changes almost on a daily basis. And I think part of the problem now, I'm sure you would agree with me, is I think all the information that's out there.
Information overload.
That's what I was just about to say, because I think there's just too much information, and I think for some, you pay attention to the information, but then you're also listening to people who don't have to live with the circumstances of whatever decision that you're making.
It's so funny because, especially since you started talking about sneakers, right? Sneakers, Yeezys, Adidas, Kanye, all that stuff I started thinking about randomly when you were introducing a little while ago. Right. And the funny thing is, depending on the outlet, right? You click Kanye is an idiot, and there's a whole bunch of things out there.
On it,
exactly. Right. Then you put Kanye is a genius, then there's a whole spew of this, that, the other, right? And who's right and who's wrong? No, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just like it's how you feel personally. How do you feel personally about the market? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this the best time to buy? For me, it is. Like if you had your heart set in the neighborhood, and now with the interest rate, your buying power is not the same.
Maybe you're priced out.
Exactly. Right. Then it might not be the best.
It might not be the best time. Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but on the flip side, if you are flexible, this might be the best time because, and if you're flexible, this might be the best time because now there are more options and there are more properties sitting out there. Right. Maybe not the one that you definitely wanted, right. But there's opportunities.
Yeah. Because what some people can also do is, depending, like you said, how flexible you are, and I think when it comes to real estate, you have to keep an open mind. So if you're keeping an open mind, then like you said, we're in Brooklyn now, so we can say you're looking in Clinton Hills, and we were just talking about Clinton Hills just now. Brownstones may be going for $5 million, give or take. But maybe you can shift over a town or two, and maybe you can start off there. You can build up your equity, live there for maybe, like I said, a few years, build up your equity, pay down your debt, and maybe the opportunity will present itself, at that time. And maybe now you can say, okay, I put myself in a position financially where I can actually make this move. What would your thoughts be on that?
It's funny because I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I was just like, there's a difference between being a homeowner, an investor, and someone who owns a home that they live in. you know. So I have a friend of mine who has a great apartment, like 2 or 3 doors down from Red Rooster. It's popping.
Nice.
It's popping. She's not paying that much rent.
Right.
And she's young enough to truly enjoy like living in the midst of
In the
that,
midst of it,
right? So, but she's like, oh, I don't want to buy right now because I'm paying cheap rent and this, that, the other, and my neighborhood's popping, and the only thing that I could afford right now, I'd be in northern Bronx or Canarsie, or even worse, Staten Island, right? To buy in New York City. And I'm just like, yo, but check this out. I didn't tell you that I needed you to move out of your cool apartment. I told you I need you to buy something. Exactly. It's totally different.
But you see how she's thinking.
Exactly.
Because of how we're trained or how we're programmed.
Exactly. If you buy a property, it doesn't mean that you have to live there. It doesn't, you could keep your cool apartment. You could buy a property in a neighborhood that you necessarily don't feel comfortable living.
But let that mortgage pay for that cool apartment that you have, and you're still living that life that you want to live.
Exactly, because I tell people all the time, everybody's paying a mortgage. Everybody's paying a mortgage. Now you decide if you are going to pay your mortgage or my mortgage as a landlord. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to pay it anyway.
One way or another, you're going to pay it.
You know what I'm saying? There's always a living expense. I think, what's the living expense? About 30% of your income?
Of the income. Mm-hmm.
30% of your income is going out the door regardless. So it's up to you. And, like with so many things like house hacking and things like that, you could even reduce that. You could even reduce that number.
It all depends, like you said, I think, what your situation is, and, if you're a single person, if you're a couple, like you said, there's a lot of different things that you can do. I've had situations recently. I had a couple that I was working with, and I sold them a 2-family house in Hempstead, and it was a 2-family. It was a 1-family and a 1-family, so they were side by side. The basements were connected. What they did, because they didn't have any kids, it was just a couple, they kept the basement, left the apartments rented, the apartment paid for the mortgage, and then they're still positive almost $1,000 every month. So they're basically living for free.
It adds up.
It adds up. So it's like you said, everybody has a different situation, and people come up to you, I'm sure, all the time and ask you a lot of different questions, but they have to understand everybody's situation is different. So even your friend that you may be taking advice from, their situation may be different from yours. And I think that's what people always need to understand. It's like, you have to try to keep an open mind and always try to think outside the box.
Of course. I remember, first of all, when I first bought my very first property that I purchased, I was living at my mom's house.
Oh, wow.
I was living at my mom's house. I was working at Verizon. I was making good money at Verizon.
Right.
I was living at my mom's house, collecting about $2,000 a month in rent.
Nice.
Positive.
Nice.
That was my net. Right. I was making money at Verizon. I was young, so I was blowing most of the money. I was driving like a BMW with like 20-inch rims on a car that was only supposed to have like
18-inch, 17, right?
Exactly.
Teenage rims was it?
Exactly. So, but nonetheless, it was a great foundation. And what I did after that, I ended up purchasing a house in Rosedale. Let me tell you a quick story.
Because you started, your first property was in Queens, the one that you bought, right?
Yeah, Southside Jamaica, Queens. I had 2 side by side.
Nice.
And then it was time. Then TLC dropped that song, Scrubs.
No Scrubs?
TLC dropped No Scrubs, and then Lauryn Hill dropped another song, like In Your Mother's Basement. There's a line. I was, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, does she see me? So I was like, all right, cool. I got to get out of here. So I went and I tried to buy a condo off the LIE.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Great location, great views.
Great location, great views, but there were too many rentals in that building, and Citibank would not approve the mortgage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So that turned out to be like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because what I ended up doing, I ended up buying a 2-family in Rosedale.
Nice.
I buy the 2-family in Rosedale. I rent the top, I rent the basement, and so the first floor, I had 2 of my frat brothers move in with me.
Nice.
So I'm living in this house I'm living in this house in Rosedale. I am probably making a positive 1,500 on it for living there with my boys that were throwing parties and we all wilding out in there. You know what I'm saying? Like each one of them was giving me like $500 a month. People upstairs were giving me like $1,200 a month.
And then you had the basement rented too.
Exactly. Shh! Don't rent the basement. All right?
But you started house hacking before house hacking was even a thing.
Exactly. So that opened up the door for me. You know, so it's super important that you guys think outside the box, and you don't like just because you can't afford something. Right? Because you can't afford to live where you want to live doesn't mean that you should stop buying.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I think for me, it was basically the same thing. Like, you know, when I got started in real estate or when I got my license, you know, my goal in the beginning was to feel like I had the upper hand or the inside track for when I wanted to buy a property. So, you know, I got licensed in April of 2002. We found a property in May and we closed on it in July. My son was born in May, so he was 2 months old. After we closed on the property, exactly a week later, I get laid off from work. So this was July of 2002. First payment is due September of 2002. So now everybody, of course, you know, they all want to get in your ear. Well, your payment's not due till September, so you have enough time to sell the house. I'm like, you guys think small-minded. At the end of the day, me getting laid off from work, like you said, things like that happen to us may be the best thing that's happened to us. For me, it wasn't thinking or starting to panic that I actually had to sell the property. It's now trying to figure out a way for me to keep this thing going.
Exactly. You know, like it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what's happening. Right. You know, because first of all, you're not the first person to lose their job. All right? So what do you know, Diddy lost his job. That's how Bad Boy got started.
Andre Harrell fighter.
Exactly. So it's just like when something bad happens, what are you gonna do? Like when I got fired from Verizon, like I was already doing real estate, but it's just like I was doing real estate on crack when I got fired. Like right. I went crazy. Like, and within the first 90 days of me being terminated, I had already doubled what I would have made at Verizon. You know?
Wow. That's unbelievable. But back when you were working at Verizon, you were actually, because what would we say? This was 25 years ago?
Nah, I got fired in 2005.
Oh, 2005. Okay.
Yeah.
17 years.
Yeah.
Oh, 17 years, right.
Yeah. But I've been in the real estate game since since 1997.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I bought my first property October 31st, 1997. So literally.
That was the date. You see that?
Huh? Exactly. Literally 25 years ago to this week.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, bro.
What made you buy that property in Queens? Because were you living in Queens at the time when you bought that property?
I was living in Queens at the property. I didn't know any better. I had this guy, an agent, who approached me and who asked me how my credit was. I was like, I don't know, you know, and he finessed me. You know what I'm saying?
But in a good way.
Yeah, he finessed me. He was scouting for buyers.
Right.
So he got me in. You know, right. And initially I was going through some things at that time, and all I really wanted was like $500 a month.
That was your goal.
That was my
at the
goal.
beginning.
If I could make $500 a month, I'd be golden. You know, so
what did the $500 signify for you?
The $500 was at least 2 nights in the club.
Yeah. But you had your that was what you at that time.
Exactly. It was
right.
It was 2 nights in the club. Exactly. 2 nights in the club doing it big.
Right.
You know, that's back in the days when you could buy a bottle for $100.
Right. Well, I remember back in 96, 97, that's when Big was popping back then.
Exactly.
Jay-Z was just coming on the scene. Well, 97, Big had gotten killed, and then Jay came on the scene. He started really heating up. Exactly. Yeah, back then, like you said, you could really go out and, you know, modestly have a good time.
Exactly. So that was my goal. You know, simple. You know, it's so funny because in retrospect, that was just a drop in the bucket.
Right.
But you know,
But for you at that time,
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that people really have to be mindful of. You should be very careful who you surround yourself with, because if you surround yourself with small people, you'll have small dreams.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So like the people I surrounded the people I was around, I just needed $500 to be the man.
Wow.
You know, so super important that everybody just checks their goals constantly. You have to constantly audit your goals to make sure that they are truly, if your goals truly live up to your capabilities.
Right. And I think, like you said, the people that you surround yourself with also have to match up to the goals that you're looking to set for yourself, because you can have that mindset, but if you're still surrounding yourself with people that are not doing as much, or people that are not thinking on that same wavelength, it almost kind of sounds like you're bragging in a sense when you're talking with them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You know, I love being in a room where people say only $1 million or so. You know, like everybody aspires to be a millionaire. You know, like that's the new catchphrase on social media. I'm gonna be the first millionaire in my family. This, that, the other. It's like, I just
Remember, we weren't taught that when we were coming up, especially me and you around that time.
Exactly, but there's no excuse for not knowing these days, because between the information is readily available, or like through the internet, through like there were no networking mixers back then.
There was nothing. Back then we had nothing. We didn't even have social media.
If you are not aspiring for more right now, that's your own personal decision.
Where did you go to school?
I went to St. John's.
Oh, you went to St. John's. Okay. Where did you go to high school and junior high school?
I went to high school in Brooklyn, Bishop Ford, which is no longer.
Oh, you went to Bishop Ford. Okay.
Exactly.
I went to Lafayette and I went to Tilden. But I know you're a Brooklyn boy. That's why I wanted to get in there. Okay. Well.
I went to Catholic school all my life. You know, good Haitian boy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
I went to Holy Innocents, then went to Bishop Ford, then went to St. John's. You know, yeah.
But you were born in Brooklyn, or you were born in Haiti?
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn.
Just like me.
I was born in Brooklyn till I was, in my mid-teens, and my mom figured that instead of leaving me in Brooklyn, she would take me to Queens to get away from like the crack and all that other stuff.
Right.
Little did she know that you know what I'm saying, Cream Team was popping. It was popping in Queens, and it was even more.
It was worse, right?
It was worse in Queens. But it's funny because it's like even being around that helped shape who I am.
Right.
You know, like I've never been one to promote like anything illegal or anything like that.
Right.
But like growing up around it and seeing how the wolves move and how the sharks move, has kind of helped me propel myself in real estate.
Right.
You know, like I come from a place like you say something wrong to the wrong, you say something wrong to the wrong person, you get shot,
Right.
you get killed.
Right.
So what does that do for me in my real estate, in the real estate world? It teaches me to be respectful of people. It teaches me like not to write those thug emails. You know the thug emails?
Yeah, well,
like
all the people, they hide behind the computers, right?
Exactly.
Keyboard gangsters, I think they call them.
Yo, you've never seen so many keyboard gangsters when it comes when it's time to do a closing. Everybody's just like a gangster,
Really?
but hide behind a keyboard.
Right.
But it taught me you can't be a gangster.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it taught me that there's a way that you you conduct yourself, or else there's consequences.
Sure.
So that has always been a competitive advantage that I have, because I'm not super aggressive, because since I'm not super aggressive in the streets.
Right.
I don't pretend to be super aggressive.
When you handle business.
Exactly. So find your niche, find a way that you're going to move, and use your past. You know what I'm saying? Use your past to propel your future.
Right.
I tell people that all the time. You have to use your past to propel your future. Like your past is not an excuse, because had I had my choice, I would have been born 6'5" blonde. You know what I'm saying? Like at the top of the food chain. Right. But I was not.
That wasn't in the cards for you. That wasn't your reality.
That's not my reality. So what do? Do I sit and cry about it, or do I play the hand that I'm dealt?
And that's all that we can do. I mean, you have a lot of people that will sit back and sort of wallow in, I guess, whatever their situation is. But it's like whatever you were given, you have to take that and try to make the most out of it. You know, going back to what you were saying with, you know, you living in Queens. Like I'm born in Brooklyn. I lived in Nigeria for 8 years. After staying here for 2 years, then I came back to Brooklyn. Lived in all different parts. Lived in Flatbush on 24th and Flatbush, and lived in
24th and Flatbush.
24th and Forster Avenue. I'm sorry.
Oh,
24th and Forster. I used to go to PS 152.
Yo, I went to PS 152 as a
No,
kid.
you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Yo, and,
you see that?
And because I was on Bedford and Farragut.
Oh, you were right down the road.
Exactly, literally, because you're one block. Because I got thrown out of Arlington Refuge, which was down the block from you.
I got thrown out of Ditmas Junior High School. Folks, we're just.
But we're good people. We're good people.
You know, just these are our pasts, and just like Jude said, you take your past and you work from there. You don't let your past dictate your future.
It actually helps you, man.
It does.
It helps you.
Right.
You know, like there's nothing like that. If you notice all the people that look at the people that we aspire to be, right? The Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, the 50s. You know what I'm saying? All moguls in their own right. What do they all have in common? All come from single parent homes. All live below the poverty line. You know what I'm saying?
Jay-Z, who's a billionaire, like you said, used to live in Marcy Projects. He lived on Lexington Avenue. I used to live on Lexington Avenue in Bed-Stuy. I lived at 607 Lexington Avenue. He lived somewhere on that block and also lived in the projects. And like you said, look at where he is now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, you never let your past dictate your future. Even, you know, when I lived in East New York, on Vermont between Hegeman and New Lots, I used to work at the McDonald's. You know, back then, we would see all the drug dealers coming through, you know, with the nice cars, with the jewelry. And, you know, for us, we aspire sometimes to be like them, or maybe, you know, just want to attain, I guess, the type of wealth that they had, or at least what we thought, quote unquote, was wealth. But like you said, I think with everybody that you come in contact with, it's either a lesson to be learned from it. I think with everybody, there's always a lesson to be learned. You know, you look at what people are doing, and, you know, you can take, even if, you know, like you said, maybe they're in the streets and they're moving a certain way, you may still look at them and say, you know what, I want to aspire to maybe have as much money as them, or at least back then, that's what we thought was money. But, you know, with everybody I think that you come in contact with, is that there's always something to be taken out of it.
Not just every person, but every situation. I even watch, do you watch House of Dragons,
No.
Game of Thrones, all that? Yo, one of the, like, I make sure.
I need to get up on?
Yeah, you need to
Okay.
get up on that. But one of the things that I always make sure that if I'm going to dedicate an hour of my life to a TV show, a movie, or whatever, that I need to get something out of it, you know. And shout out to the cameraman because he nodded. He nodded. But
Train is the man.
but like every week, you know, like you learn something about politics. You learn something about warfare. You learn something about psychology. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And those, everybody thinks, we all know how to get rich. Buy low, sell high, right? But what is not taught is vision.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in this building right now. This property sat on the market for a few months before I came along.
Wow.
because it didn't look like this.
Of course.
You know? But I had the vision.
You had the vision.
I had the vision. So, and it's now worth 3 times what I paid for it.
Well, I remember I saw one of your posts where you were saying, you know, you have a lot of people that have actually been knocking down your door to buy this property. I know you're not going to sell it, but that have been knocking down your door to buy this property.
Exactly. Now that it's complete, and now that everything, you know, like you all the ugliness has been taken away, but it's the vision. You know, like I always tell people, your vision, you have to be able to see through the bullshit. Right. Because if you can't see through it, you're just, you know what I'm saying, you're right where everybody else is.
It's true. It's true. That's a great point.
You know, it's very important that you always look at the how.
Right.
You know, right. So I had a property that I made the mistake of. I purchased this property in Harlem last year, and I don't know how I made this mistake, but
especially so far into the game.
Yeah, but I read the taxes were $4,800. Right. The taxes were $48,000.
Really?
Yeah, because you know when I was looking at the building, I'm just like, there's no, you know, in hindsight, I was just like, there's no way that it could have been 48,000.
Oh, 40, right.
But it was a SRO. So what the city was doing was counting every bedroom as a unit,
so that they could tax it.
And they were taxing it, so I was being taxed as a 16 unit, so it was $48,000, right? And so that right there threw my pro forma all out of whack.
Completely out of whack. Right?
Exactly. So what do? Do I cry about it? Do I bitch about it? You know what I'm saying? Do I just? Yeah. But I'm just like, let me think outside the box. So now I renovate the property. So I get 6 units in there, right? I renovate the property, I get 6 units in there. I called the Department of Finance and I'm like, hey, I think you guys made a mistake, right?
As far as how I'm being taxed.
As far as how I'm being taxed. I think somebody might have put a 1 in front of the 6, because if you come here, which they did, you can clearly see
it's only 6 units.
It's only 6 units, right? So they came down, 6 units, boom. They reduced the taxes down to $8,000. Amen. You know?
Wow.
But it's just like, what are you going to do? Like, do you have the vision?
Right.
Can you think of something?
Right.
You know? Like, there's so many, you know, things that I won't say on camera that you can do.
Right. But that takes years of experience, would you say? Would you agree? Or
no,
not even?
It's just having that aggressiveness, right? Like my goal every day is to make or save $3,000 every day.
That's your goal?
That's my goal.
Okay.
I want to make or save $3,000 every day. So if the window guy tells me that the price is $10,000 and I get them down to 7, my work is done for the day.
Nice.
Right? So one of the little things that I do, if I'm going into Manhattan, right? Before I cross the bridge, I'll stop and I'll get one of those Muni Media tickets for the whole day. Because in Brooklyn it's like $1.50 an hour, whereas in the city it's like $4 an hour, right? So just thinking outside the box, you know, just having the vision. What I'm doing is legal,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I'm
a very conservative person. He's a millionaire, folks. Still very conservative. This is what we do.
It's
not because I have the money, I want to blow the money. No, I want to hold on to the money.
It's not even about the money sometimes. Sometimes it's just about innately wanting to win.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the things, I used to be a gambler. You know what I'm saying? Oh, terrible, terrible gambler.
I was going to ask you about that.
Right? And in hindsight, it was never about the money. It was just about the
feeling?
The thrill of winning, because I wanted to win so bad. And this was like the best way to do it, right? I recently was in a closing, and I'm at a closing where I was going to walk away with about $1.3 million at the end of the closing, right? And I am...
The property that you got where you went to Jamaica?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is something
There's a lot of stories. Yeah. He owns a lot of property, folks.
This is just a flip that I did in Harlem, 519 West 141st Street. So I'm walking away with $1.3 million, right? But at the closing, prior to me closing, I had shorted a stock, right? And I typically don't get involved in trading options because it's too close to gambling. But I had put
That was actually one of my questions for you. Funny that you said that.
But I had put like $1,000 up, and I was up like $600 or $700, right? So I'm in the closing like this on my phone like a crackhead, right? And like this.
I'm about to walk away with a check for 7 figures.
I'm about to walk away from a check for $1.3 million, but I'm focused on this because it's not. It
wasn't about the money.
It's like I was right. I won. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and that's the gift and the curse. You know what I'm saying? Because that is the thing that keeps me in the game aggressive. Right. But that's also the thing that gets me to overstep sometimes. Right. You know, like I was in a situation where I did a hard money loan for a guy. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, it was a bad deal to begin with, right? It was a bad deal. It was a bad guy. This, that, the other. But it was the need to win that got me, right. You know. And every good scam out there, and anybody who ever gets conned, they get conned because their greed or their need to get over surpasses their better judgment. You know, like anybody who tells you that give me $1,000 and I'll give you $10,000 next week, ends up losing that
$5,000. I'll flip it to $50,000.
Exactly.
It sounds too good to be true, folks. It usually is.
Exactly. So that's one of the things that's one of the lessons that I've learned in life that I've had to get control over. Because you never want to be in a situation where you knew better, but you didn't do better.
Right. That's a great point. So for you, who's your voice of reason? I guess whenever you're examining deals or even with you gambling and you feeling like you're too far over, you feel like you're out of control.
I have a committee.
You do?
You know, and funny enough, a lot of the people, I call them a committee, but a lot of people that I go to are not even in the business, but they're intelligent enough, and most importantly, there's no jealousy, and they have my best interest at heart, where I could tell them a situation, and they could give me an honest feedback. They could give me honest feedback where I could take that feedback and make a decision.
Right. Whether you like it or not, it's them being straightforward and being honest with you.
Exactly.
And you take, you do with the information as you wish.
Exactly. You know, so many times people ask for advice, but they're truly just asking for someone to reiterate what they want to do in the first place. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. They say stuff like, yo, my girl doesn't make me happy. Should I cheat on her? You know what I'm saying? Right. It's just like, no, like you need to you surround yourself with people who have your best interest. Exactly.
And a lot of those people that are on your committee are these people that you've known for
years. Decades.
Decades, right.
You know?
Right. And there's no ego there, like you said. There's no jealousy. There's nothing.
There's no ego. There's no jealousy, and some of these people are doing significantly better than I am.
Wow.
You know. Right. So it's
for them, like you said, there's no motive behind it. There's nothing. They don't even.
Exactly. In this country, there's three ways. There's three ways to make money. You gotta do it first. You gotta do it better, or you gotta do it cheaper. You know, like. There's no other way. Right. So anything that you're going to do, if you're not the first one to do it, you better do it better, or you better be able to do it cheaper.
Right.
And I tell people you could have fast, good, or cheap, but you could choose two of them. You know what I'm saying? You want good, you want good and fast, then it's not going to be cheap. You want cheap, but it's not going to be fast and good. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you pick your poison.
Right. How did you get started with gambling?
Oh, it's
Long story.
nah. It was just something that all my life, you know, from pitching quarters as a kid in the schoolyard.
And it just grew.
But you know, one of the greatest lessons that I learned, and I shout out to Charles Smith for this. Charles Smith of the from the Knicks. I lost $1,000. That famous Charles Smith game where he missed.
Where he missed the shot
Yeah,
like 3 times, 4 times.
Exactly. So I lost like
Shout out to the Knicks.
I lost $1,000 on that, right? But here's the worst part about it. The next night in the club, who do I see there?
Charles Smith.
Having the best time of his life, like nothing ever happened. And $1,000 back then
Was a big deal, of course.
was
Was
a lot of money.
that was 10,000 back in the day.
So that kind of helped shape my mindset because I basically put money in something that I had no control over. Right? So which is why I love real estate so much, because I have full control. You know, it's never a gamble with real estate, because I know how much money the property is worth from the very beginning before I close to buy.
Right.
You know, I make my money in the beginning.
They always say with real estate, you make your money, like you said, in the beginning when you're buying the property, if you buy it right.
Exactly. So that was, you know, again, and that's one of the things that I was touching base about. Like, you're supposed to be able to learn from every situation. Right. So yeah, me wanting to punch Charles Smith in the face.
I was going to ask
day.
you, did you go up to him and punch him in the gut?
Nah, but it was just like, it hurt. Right. But it was a lesson that, you know, I cannot put my destiny in the hands of somebody else's hands. Right. You know, and that's the same thing. So many times, we as investors want somebody else to do the work and create the magic for us. But at the end of the day,
you benefit off their fruits and labor.
Exactly. At the end of the day, the only way you're ever going to be successful in life is by taking the good and the bad and putting it on your back, on your shoulder, and taking full accountability, saying, yo, I know this is heavy, but I'm going to carry it because this is what I need to do to create generational wealth, to leave my mark on this earth, to have a legacy. So,
nice. I mean, at this stage of the game, because it seems like you've pretty much, I mean, you haven't done everything, but you've done a lot. What's your vice? Because back when you were gambling, it was gambling, but because you no longer do that, I know you have that tattoo on your hand to always say to yourself, never again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what's your vice?
Well, my vice is actually something real beautiful right now. My vice is my daughter.
Congratulations on Brooklyn Bella.
Exactly.
She's your first?
My first.
Congratulations on that.
So it really changes the game for me, because it changes my perspective, because now like my vice is rushing home to be with her. Right? So I had a contractor that I was supposed to meet at 2:00. He hits me up saying that he's running late. He'll be there closer to 3:30. Doesn't show up till after 4.
Your appointment was at 2:00 with him?
Exactly. Typical contractor stuff. But what I found was typically I would have gotten angry and I would have said something to the effect of, yo, you know how much my time is worth, right? But I found myself, I was just like, yo, you just robbed me of 2 hours with my child, you know? Right. So it's just like, that's my vice, you know, like when she smiles at me, it's just like, oh, I could see it now, that cha-ching, you know what I'm saying?
Well, she's going to have you wrapped around her finger real soon.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no, she already has.
She already has, okay. Yeah, you just have to enjoy that time with her. You're gonna blink and she'll be 5.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody who has a 20-year-old and a 25-year-old. My daughter's 25. She's a nurse, and we got this guy here with me doing the real estate. Him even following in my footsteps, but that had nothing to do with me. I didn't force it.
He's chasing a check.
Yeah, it was something that he wanted to do, but he was chasing the check and he liked them checks. Yeah, but a lot of that for us as parents, it makes us feel good, and I think when you instill certain things in your kids, to see them come up and wanting to be successful and wanting to, be independent and wanted to be their own, their own person, it really makes you feel good. It's a great feeling.
It's definitely, and the best thing that you can do for your child is just provide them with the information that you were not privy to at an earlier age. Because just imagine knowing the things that our parents didn't teach us. That all other cultures, it's actually a part of their rites of passage where they sit their children down and they tell them have these conversations about property, about insurance and stuff like that, and we don't do that.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, because we weren't taught that. I mean, I think back to my dad coming up. My dad is 80 now. He didn't start reading until he was 16, and that was because didn't start reading and going to school till he was 16. His dad didn't even want him to go to school, but that was, I guess, a lot of the cycle.
Yeah.
And him wanting to do better and wanting to break that cycle. But all that we can do, like you said, we have certain information, or we're brought up a certain way, but it's like you can be born poor, but dying poor. Shame on you.
It's a decision.
It's a decision.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
You chose the Jordans.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You chose the club.
It's true. While you were, while the rest of us, or while you were out, hustling and doing the things that you needed to do to try to level up. Going back to real estate for a second, what I know. You buying your first property. I heard that you were going to school at the time, and you got I guess a check.
Student loan,
$12,000.
Exactly.
And that's how you got started in the business.
That's how I got in the business. Wow. And it's so funny because even after I graduated, after I dropped out of school, like everybody's talking about student debt forgiveness and stuff like that. I remember one time trying to get a mortgage. My DTI was high because of student loans, but I had already done so many deals. Just paid it off, and it's just like just to be afforded that luxury, because like your student loan can sometimes be a curse that chases you
it hinders everything that you're looking to do
for decades. Yeah. But to be in this business where you could just cut a check and it just wipes off your student debt,
That's the greatest feeling in the world.
Exactly, man. Like this is one of the best industries I tell especially minorities and people of color that they need to be a part of, because at the end of the day, everybody needs a place to live. And secondly, they are not making any more land in this world. Get yours today, and make sure that you have your spot on this earth that you can leave for the generations behind you.
That's a great advice. Great advice. Take us through, if you could think that far back. I'm sure you can. When you were buying that property, when you were taking that student loan check, what was the thought process? Were you nervous as hell? Were you scared? Or?
No, I was too stupid. I was, like
you didn't know any better.
I didn't know any better. Okay. Like ignorance is bliss.
That's true.
And one of the things about this country is that there's no debtor's prison, right? Like back in the days, with the Pilgrims, like if you had debt, they put you in the little stockade thing, which is like shamed yourself. But like I've lost it all twice already.
Twice.
Exactly. Like I lost it all in the .com back in 2000, and I lost it all back in 2008 in the real estate bubble.
When the bubble happened.
Exactly. And that's not even including all the tens and thousands of dollars that I've lost, like gambling and just doing stupid things, right? But at the end of the day, there's always tomorrow, right? So there's always, every day is a second chance. Every day is an opportunity to change the game. So
to get yourself back up.
Exactly. Like I have an 850 credit score. At one point, my credit was like 5 something. Right. Not too long ago. Right. It was I'd say 2016, 2017. Wow. I couldn't even get anything. I was still buying everything in cash.
Wow. At that point, you only had street credit.
Street credit.
But street credit don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
But street credit is the best because I could raise $1 million in less.
Just about to say that.
In-
A gift and a curse.
Yeah, I could raise $1 million in less than a day because my reputation is solid. It's solid.
Right.
Like I've been in this game 25 years. There's never been an investor who's lost money.
Right.
And I'll even be honest, like I've lost money before and I've paid investors like they didn't lose money. You know what I'm saying?
But that's because you like you said, you value your reputation so much,
Exactly.
and you're almost in a sense a rare breed. I'm in the business 20 years, and for me, my name, I don't care about any deal. I don't care about anything that's going to jeopardize my name or my integrity. You can talk to anybody and ask anybody. We all know people who are in the business, whether you're a real estate investor, whether you're a real estate agent, who they might have done a deal with 3 days ago and they want nothing to do with that person.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been important to try to be a person of integrity, because I feel like, I travel and I go everywhere with my kids. That's how I was when I was younger, and still up till this day. And I'm not going to go somewhere where I know I have to run back out the back door because I stiffed this person on a couple of dollars, or I sold my house next to a radioactive plant and I didn't tell them. For me, it's just not worth the time or the effort that it.
It's so funny because I post on social media every day, and somebody hits me up one day. It's like, yo, I noticed nobody ever hates on you in your comments. I was just like, the reason nobody hates on me in my comments is because I've never done anything for people.
For them to hate you on.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, there's nobody who's gonna ever say, oh, Jude owes me money, or Jude stiffed me on this deal, or Jude did me dirty. Nah, because like it is important to me that I keep my reputation solid, because my reputation is how I eat. Right. Like the deal I was just telling you about before we started on this. Like, if I could raise the funds to do that deal, but I can raise the funds to do that deal because I have a solid reputation.
Right.
And that's
reputation precedes you. It's people don't understand how important that is. I try to tell people that all the time. People that ask me, because I've been in the business 20 years, what are some of the things that you do, or what's like the advice, As you and I both know, everybody's looking for instant gratification, especially in this social media age. It's like,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Be a person of your word. Have some sort of integrity with you, and don't do anything, like you said, to jeopardize those things, because once you lose that, there's no getting that back.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand.
Because relationships, partnerships, like I always tell people, you can't make it by yourself.
That's true.
Right?
Well, they say it takes a village, right?
It takes a village, because like for every deal to make money, you need time, you need access to deals,
Right.
you need cash,
Right.
you need credit, and you need knowledge, right? So those are 5 key points that you need to make money on a deal. Now, what happens if you have time and knowledge, but you don't
Access and no cash.
access cash or credit?
Right.
You have to partner up with somebody, right? But if your reputation is shaky, who's jumping into that with you?
Absolutely nobody.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people I know that have like a whole lot of cash, a whole lot of credit, but they're always talking about, oh, I want to make some money. Can I make some money with you? I'm like, nah, son, I'm good. I'm good on you.
Right.
I'm good on you.
Let's, if we can, go back to when where you were saying the .com, when it burst.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get yourself out of that? Or how did you get back to getting back in a position where you could actually start to...
It's always a slow grind. It's always a slow grind. And one of the things I tell people is I was still working at the time.
Oh, okay.
So I was just stacking my chips, making my money, putting it to the side, still buying real estate, still buying property. And you lose a couple hundred, like that's back in the days when, in hindsight, I laughed. Just like, oh, I just lost a couple $100,000. But in hindsight, yeah, that was my world. But as long as you continuously find a way to survive today, there's always going to be an opportunity tomorrow. When things fell apart for me in 2007, 2008, what did I do? Instead of crying about it, I started a Indian hair company, Select Strands. I went to India. got a connect, and
You went straight to the plug.
yeah, went straight to plug, and I flooded the streets. By the time it was all over, I was like the number 3 distributor in New York.
In New York. Wow. So it's like it seems like you've done just about everything.
Yeah, a hustle, a hustle.
A hustler spirit. That's something that we just never lose. Once you're born with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
I know some of the nonprofit work that you do. I always see you posting a lot of different things. You're always doing a lot of charity events and hosting, I think, turkey giveaways and just some of the different things that you do here.
Yeah.
And I know that you also went back to Haiti during the hurricane or the earthquake.
Yeah, like it's so important because it's your right. It's not your right. It's your job. If you are blessed, then you have to turn around and be a blessing to somebody else. And it's cyclical. The more you give, the more you get. Like I don't even want to put it out there how much that I give away every month.
I can just imagine.
But I get the phone calls and the stories and this, that, the other, and there are people who are close to me like, yo, Jude, why are you doing this? You can't afford to do that. It's just like, yo, we've never missed a meal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We've never missed a meal. We've never been in a hopeless situation. And why is that? The reason that is because the energy that we put out there.
And you're blessed.
Yeah.
You're blessed. I mean, for me, I need to step up, doing more. I mean, there's different things that I do that I don't talk about or even post about. Anytime when somebody's in need or you hear about it, you'll help them out. For me, I always struggle with feeling that you're trying to help somebody, or at least for me, I'm helping somebody out of the goodness of my heart. So you're never going to see a phone come out. You're never even going to hear about me talking about it. I may talk about the cause, but as far as me actually physically helping somebody, for me, I just shy away from that because I don't feel like that's just not the energy, I guess, that I'm trying to put out there. Like if I'm trying to help somebody, at least maybe I'm wrong.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. There are people who look at my page and think that I'm bragging, and there are people.
Small-minded people. I'll let you finish your thought. I'm sorry.
There are people who look at my page and will know that I'm trying to inspire you, other people to do better.
Right.
So, in regards to you being humble and not wanting to brag about your good deeds, you have to understand that there are people who are watching you, who will see what you have done to help another human being and be inspired to do the same.
Got it.
So sometimes I might post maybe 1/10 of what I do,
Right.
but I do it so that other people could see and other people could be inspired to do the same.
Got it.
It's important.
No, I get that. For me, like I'm real stuff like that. I get emotional about,
Yeah.
and I just try to keep that under wraps. Like if you meet my wife, like my wife is very private and very reserved, and I'm like the complete opposite. So when it comes to trying to help somebody out, like I said, I just try to shy away from that because that's just, I guess for me, that's just not the attention that I'm looking for. Like I'll do something, I feel like if I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart, you'll never hear about it from me.
You heard it here first. I'm about to shake him down for a big turkey giveaway check when we get off camera.
Not a problem. And the first time when you and I met, I said to you after the cannabis class, I came up to you and shook your hand and said, God bless you. Because the stuff that you do, like I can look at you as another black man and show love, show you the respect that you deserve. But then also, like I said, just give you your props because
I appreciate
the stuff that you do, you don't have to do. And we all know a lot of people that are very successful and have a lot more money than the two of us put together, and half the stuff that you do, they don't do. So I'm always, like I said, from the bottom of my heart, always going to thank you and always going to salute you and always going to big you up and, just tell you God bless you for the stuff that you're doing because you don't have to do it and you're in a position not that you're in a position where you're in a position, and for you, I think that's one of the things I think that makes you who you are. And you just, you want to celebrate that because I think just the amount of garbage that we see out there on a daily basis, anytime where you see somebody that's doing good, even you having this building and the financial literacy stuff that you do for your community, it's not something that you need to do. Like you said, you've done the things that you needed to do. You had your place in Jersey and you could have just rode off into the sunset. But the fact that you're here in Brooklyn, changing lives every day, I'm always going to salute you. And like I said, it's nothing but love and respect, man.
Thank you, brother. One of the things that I try to impart to people is that you should never idolize the money, right? The money is meant to be spent. The money is meant to be to change lives. Like one of the things that I love is I love the spinach dip at Houston's.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love that too.
That's my joint.
That's your joint. Okay.
So the spinach dip at Houston's is $18. Exactly. So whether I make $10,000 this month, $100,000, or $1 million this month, what I truly enjoy is not going to be impacted or affected by the spinach dip at Houston.
Right.
Right? So with that being said, if I could do what I want to do, like if I could have my spinach dip no matter what, why wouldn't I want to help? Because it costs me nothing.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't like having it, just looking at the decimals grow in the bank. What does that do? You know?
I know you used to really be big on cars back in the days. I know I was watching something where you said, I think you went out and bought a Range Rover cash one day.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I remember, I went out and I bought what do they call that? An autobiography. I just walked.
Autobiography, nice. You got a nice one too.
Yeah, I walked into.
I'm a Range Rover lover too. I just got the new one.
I just walked into the dealership and I bought it, straight up cash, and after driving it for like 3 or 4 days, I realized that feeling that feeling that I used to have when I was driving a new car back in the day, it wasn't there. Wow. So what am I doing with this thing? So I ended up taking a hit on that, and ended up I drive a Velar now, but it's all about finding what makes you happy, finding your peace, and if you're trying to please the masses, you're always going to fail.
How long did it take you to come to that realization?
I'd say about 40 years.
Because we always, like you said, it's always you find yourself trying to please people who are not doing as much as you. And whenever you have problems, half the people that are happy that you have those problems, so that I guess you guys can still be around each other. I guess that crab's in the barrel.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's unbelievable. How is your thoughts on cars now? Do you still have that? The thrill is gone.
Thrill is gone, man. Because no matter whether I'm driving a $40,000 car, a $140,000 car, or a $240,000 car, sooner or later it's going to end up at Home Depot with a piece of sheetrock on top of it. Right. So,
you have your Honda too. You have the CR-V.
Exactly.
A guy that's worth millions, folks, still drives a Honda CR-V. Very humbling. And also was on the train the other day. I saw you posted a video.
All the time, man. Like it's nothing.
Right.
It's so fun. Even this is not a true reflection. Like this watch is not even a true reflection because it's actually a gift. Oh, wow. Because I refused
to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
But you couldn't justify
exactly.
the purchase.
This is like, yo, bro, you can't be walking around with the Apple Watch all the time. I was like, all right.
Like it tells the same time.
Exactly.
Wow. So you're like you. I guess you've been there, done that. So for you,
it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything for me. I'm going to tell you this last story. So I get a call from my boy, I get a call from my boy, and he's just like, "Yo, Puff is having a party downtown. Come through. Go downtown. I'm in the CRV. I go inside
In the CRV.
in the CRV, chill for a little bit, and I'm come outside waiting for Valley to come
Where you go?
bring my car. I'm outside with Jermaine Dupri, right?
Right.
And I'm outside with Jermaine Dupri. They pull up the CRV. My boy and Jermaine Dupri has all the jokes on me, right? Fast forward 2 years later, they're doing a tour. Jermaine Dupri's trying to put a tour together for So Def reunion.
Oh, the 25th anniversary?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were supposed to start it off at the Barclays Center, right? They were supposed to start it off at the Barclays Center, so they wanted to have the press conference here at the Brooklyn Bank. So I'm on the call with Jermaine Dupri and my boy is trying to tell Jermaine that he's met me before, right? And it's just like,
Of course he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember. He's like, yo.
Especially when you were leaving. Yeah.
And so then my boy goes, the guy in the Honda. And Jermaine Dupri goes, oh!
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So you can't make this stuff up.
But it's so funny how it comes back full circle.
Exactly.
That's some game right there for you. Again, we just want to like I said, humbly thank you, and like I said, God bless you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do. We appreciate your time.
It's all love, man.
Anybody that's looking to buy a property, sell a property, definitely reach out to us, and we're always here to help. 917-337-3727. We don't want to make this too much longer, even though we could be talking for like another hour, because Jude has a lot of gems and a lot of experience and a lot of time and a lot of things that he could definitely share with us. So maybe you guys will see a part 2. But again, we thank you guys for watching. Any questions, reach out to us, send us a text, send us a DM. Thank you again, folks. Have a great day. Stay safe.